Hello, friends. Facebook says we are live. So, it's time to begin. I was a little bit late. I apologize. Was not paying attention to the time. And let's see. Looks like we have sound. Looks like we are good on the camera. Let me turn off my phone sound. And let's go. Happy Thursday. It's February. Hooray! So that means that we have a new stamp of the month. Let's see if you can see this with minimal shine. So we have a beautiful flower set, and this is another set that has the optional thin cuts. It is not required, and so it's similar to last month's. However, the prices are slightly different because there are more dies in this set than there were in last month's set. So the price is slightly different, but very close. So, sorry, I was distracted. All right. There are specials. Love Notes is still happening, and the stamp of the month is happening. Skylark has gone. The January stamp of the month has gone. The Skylark paper might be available next week again, depending on orders and what's possibly left over. And there is something else, and I honestly can't remember, so I do apologize for that. Oh, how funny. I did end up going with purple on the flowers that we're doing today in another card. All right. Look at this cutie patootie card. This is super simple, super easy. I'm not going to be able to pull out all the stamps because things are stacked and my desk is a mess outside of camera. So you don't get to see all the stamps. But this is Desserts a la Whirl. You've seen me use that a number of times. And I used it last week, the week before, within the last few weeks, I think. But we are going super simple with this card today. So we do have two stamp sets because we have the Desserts a la Whirl, and then we have a newer alphabet set. So this is, I forget the name of it, Lollipop. So it's similar but updated from the stuff you would have seen in the 90s. But I think it's super cute and super fun for just simple things. I'm actually using it in a different class that's coming up, so watch for that. This is has sold out, but it is coming back. This is the 3x3 photo frame, and I think it's just so fun, and it works wonderfully on cards and scrapbooks as well. So I have run out of card bases, so all of our cards today are cut from 12x12 cardstock, and so they are 4 by 5.5 instead of 4 1/4, so that I can get 3 of them out of a piece of cardstock. So if they look slightly different, that would be why. But my guess is if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know until you went and used this frame and you're like, why do I have so much more space on my card than Michelle did? Anyway, These cards, like the last 2 weeks cards, will have kits available so that if you wanted to do them exactly like I'm doing them, you do have that availability and have everything, most everything pre-cut for you. I am not stamping and pre-cutting any thin cut items. So if you do not have this cups stamp set, I will include a white piece that would be large enough to do this from, but you will need to do the stamping and die cutting yourself. So that being said, let's go ahead and make this thing, because this is our easiest card of the night and it's going to go by super quick. So we have a 4x11 piece of cardstock that is scored at 5.5 to make our card. We have that frame cut out of White Daisy. We have a White Daisy 3 3/4 by 5 1/4 so that it fits inside. This piece of B&T is 4 by 5.5. It does cover that whole card front. Same paper, different side. This is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. This is the 1/2 inch strip that's left over after cutting out 2 pieces for your cards. And this is 1/2 inch by 4. And then I have 2 cups already pre-stamped so that we could get to coloring. So let's do our stamping first so that can dry, because we don't want to accidentally smear anything. Alright, we are going to use Archival Black for our stamping. I did use Intense Black ink for the stamping on the cups. And I am going to go backwards with my stamping, meaning I'm going to start with the furthest right option, in this case an exclamation point. Have you ever wondered why things are called what they're called? Why is it an exclamation point but a question mark? I don't know. I think of weird things sometimes, I think. It is what it is. Alright, done stamping. Alright, for our cups, we are going to use these 2 pens. So we are using Brown Gray Blend and Aqua Blue Blend. So we are just going to flick on the rounded edges, rounded flat facing edges of our coffee cup. Flat-ish. Why? I don't know why I just turned that. So when I'm flicking, my pen is, I'm sure you are familiar with it, but my pen starts more solidly on the paper, and then as I'm moving it, it's also lifting, so the end is a wispier mark. Alright, so on this card I did use dark, so I'm going to go ahead and do that again. And we're not doing anything fancy. Just back and forth. I am overlapping. That will help the lines kind of disappear. And then I do flip it over so that I have a little bit more control at that bottom part. Otis, please stop. So all of the markers that I'm going to use today should still be available for you to get through my shop. All right, now we are ready to assemble. So not only have I run out of card bases, but I have also run out of foam tape. Yes, I know I'm using foam tape, but this is not what I would normally use. This came, I don't know, I found this in my stash. I have no idea what it was from or how old it is. I am going to make the assumption that it is safe to use in my projects. Hopefully that won't bite me later. But cards aren't normally put into scrapbooks, so is ready. This one is going to look weird because it's going to overlap, and so we don't want to have foam right there. So put this at the bottom of our inside. Then we're to peel just the inside rows of foam tape to make this a little bit easier. To maybe make this easier, so before we do the next step, we want to put our glue on the back side of our center so that it can be glued to the card base. And then we're just going to center. And now we will peel off the rest of the foam backing. When I was making the card, I peeled all of this off at the same time, so you can do it that way. It just makes everything a little bit stickier and a little bit harder to handle and deal with. Okay. So that one's ready to go. This one's ready to go. That one's ready to go. And this one's ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and, oh, what? I must have cut one. This is what happens when you don't have everything so I cut one wrong. Or right, depending on how you're looking at things. And yes, I'm going to do this one. And did it sideways. always the small pieces. And voila. Card number 1 done. Super simple, super easy, and fun to do. All right. Card number 2. So this one, I will tell you, I was inspired by 2 different challenge blogs. So I have stamped on the front and the back of this envelope. So we have Try a Sketch on Tuesday, and this is sketch number 639 for our card front. And then Seize the Birthday, and their challenge number 276 is Craft and Another Color. So obviously I have more than just another color on here, but the other main color I chose was Bluebird. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have a card base, again 4 by 11, scored at 5.5, if I measured right this time. White daisy for the inside, 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. We have 3 strips that are 1 inch by 4 inches of Bluebird. We have 3 strips that are 7/8 by 3 7/8 of the Let's Party paper. We have another Bluebird. This one I believe is 3/4. Yes. So we have 3/4 of an inch by at least 4 inches, or I guess this one is just short. The other ones are already cut for the kits, and they are 4 inches or longer. Most of them are longer. And then we have a white daisy that is 5/8 by, again, at least 4 inches. We have a 3/8 inch piece of the Let's Party paper for the inside. We have the cupcake from Desserts a la Whirl, again already stamped, and then another piece of the Let's Party paper, and it's not a scrap because I did cut it, but it is 1 1/4 by 1 3/4. Yeah, and we're going to stamp that and put that on there. So let's do our stamping. Alright, so because we are not coloring, we're going to go ahead and stamp with Archival Black. And we're just going to make sure that the entire cupcake wrapper is on here. Just like that. All right. And then with Bluebird on our white daisy strip, we are going to stamp Happy Birthday nearish the right side. right, so we're going to let those dry, and let's go ahead and color. So I am going to go ahead and stick with that blue frosting. So that is this one, Blue Teal. And this is the Bright and Vivid color pencil set. And you guys, these pencils are so smooth. So I'm coloring darker this time than I did on the first one. I'm going to do the larger bits, and then I'm going to sharpen my pencil for those smaller bits. Because I do want to stay inside the lines, because these are a wax base, they will cover the stamp lines. I mean, it won't be complete, right? But you'll be able to see that it's happening. So as you can see, I'm not doing anything fancy with my coloring. Just coloring. And I am just now realizing that we are coloring on every single card today. I don't normally do that. Okay. Like I said, this is a mess outside of this little area. Alright, let's go ahead and do some layering. I am using the light side of Bluebird. You can use either one. I suppose it would have been fun to flip this card over to have the yays, but it's a little bit too late now. Actually, it's not, because we could just roll that glue off, but I don't want to. So the first card that we did today in the video was the last card that I designed for you guys. And so it was cutting it right up to that wire. So these are all cut, and while this one doesn't, most of them do, like this card here, in that the panels are the pieces next to each other. And the reason that this one doesn't is because one of the panels I miscut. So it is what it is. All right, so we are going to flip this over and we are going to restamp it because I was trying to be okay with it and I am not. So let's do that again. Let's see if we can do that a little bit better this time. Excuse my head. Much better. Okay. Like I said, I was trying hard. I just could not. We're just going to cut a wedge off. Just a wedge. All right. Sorry, I'm trying to move things out of the way. And then we are going to go ahead and attach this to the bluebird piece. We are going to center it and we're going to move it down so that we can have enough space from that corner to mimic that wedge that we cut. And then we're going to mimic that wedge we cut. Alright, I'm going to let that dry just a tiny smidge more. And I should have done the stamping on the envelope, but we can go ahead and do that last. So these inside pieces are cut at 4 inches, so you will have some to trim off if you do decide to get one of those kits. Add our glue to the back. Inside to the inside. Just centering on the 3 sides. If you would like, you could pop up these panels on some foam tape. But A, I did not want to, and B, as you've already heard, I ran out of my foam tape. Alright, so we are going to start on the left side of the card, and we are just going to create an equal spacing between, let me turn off that sound, there we go, equal spacing on the left side and the top. And then if your panels match up, make sure you do that. Well, I guess you don't have to make sure. And then we are putting about half of the same space between the panels as there is at that top and that far left. So now we look like this. Now, if by chance your blue piece is not as long as you would like it over here, what you can do, because our cupcake is going to go here-ish. So actually, I will show you exactly what you can do, because mine is not quite as long as I would like. So here is the secret on how to fix that. We are going to kind of peel this apart again. Right, so we're going to kind of put it how we wanted ish, and then we know that our cupcake is going to sit approximately here. Obviously on top I'm just using placement, and so we're just going to trim our blue piece, not our white piece. Okay, and then you can use your envelope or another piece of cardstock. Right, we're going to put our glue down. We're still going to have our white daisy up a little bit, and we're going to lay our banner across where we want it, and then we're going to line up our envelope or our cardstock along that whole piece, and then we can line up our cardstock. Let's flip this around so it's a straight edge, and we are going to line it up with the outside edge of the card and the envelope or cardstock, and then press that down. So you can see we have a little gap in our bluebird. Right, press down our white daisy. We'll go ahead and trim this. And then we're going to end up covering that up with our cupcake. So it will be just fine in the end. So we're just going to cut out our cupcake wrapper. If you'd like, you can take a pencil or a marker or whatnot, and you can add some of those wrapper lines. I don't even know what you would call those. But you know how cupcake wrappers are generally folded accordion style. All right. As you can see, that went super quick. Now, if you want and are concerned, you can take a black pen and go around the edges. Today I am not. Well, actually, I did do that on the sample. So here in a moment, you'll be able to see kind of the difference. Sometimes you can see a difference and sometimes not so much. this instance, maybe not so much, which is good. We're almost done with this card. And then we just put this on here so we cover up our little cut mark. And now you'd never know. Alright, so let's go ahead and do some stamping on our envelope since we forgot that earlier. Voila. That is card number 2. This, my friends, I did not do anything with envelope, although I could kind of do some splatter work, which we did on the front of this card. So, it actually goes by pretty quickly. What do we have here? So we have a 4x11 scored at 5.5 card base. Again, I ran out. Now, I was going to use this on here and I forgot, so we'll use one this time. So we have flowers from the Stamp of the Month set, as well as leaves. Now my leaves have not been stamped yet, so we will need to do that. And there are 2 different leaves in, and I have them cut out light side and dark side of Seabrook paper. These 2 pieces come from the, I think it's called Sweet Memories. Yes, the Sweet Memories card making workshop. So we're using this label and this piece, but we're not using anything else. Although I guess I could have used the cards from that, but I didn't. And then we are also using a sentiment from a new stamp set. I forget the name. I will include the name in the information below. So let's move this stuff out of the way because I forgot to last time and I got some splatter. So we want to do our wet stuff first so that it can dry, and then we can finish with the rest of it. So I am going to use this fan brush, and it just came with, I think it came in the set that I got from Dollar Tree, actually. So it's not anything fancy, except it looks fancy. And you could do it with probably any other paintbrush. Okay. So we're going to use a brush, we are going to use a block, we are going to use some water, and some Seabrook ink. Alright, so I'm going to use a little bit of washi tape to attempt to keep this closed. And then here, we'll do this like this. Alright, so we are going to use our block. And we're just inking up the block. Okay. We're going to spritz this with 2 spritzes of water. And I'm going to do it off camera. And I'm going to put 2 spritzes on my brush, because we do want it to have a little bit of water. We might actually need to do a little bit more water. And then we're just going to clearly we need more water. See, and I thought I used too much water earlier. So I know that there will be some of you saying you could just that gives such a fun look. Anyway, that I could just squeeze my lid and do that. And I can, yes. But because I'm adding water, I don't want that water to possibly be getting into my ink. So that is why I'm doing it on the block. It just does such funny things. I'm not sure if that's because, it's probably because it's from the Dollar Tree, right? But I don't actually know. All right, and then I'm going to bring this in. We're going to go ahead and use this. And we're just going to we're going to set it in the middle, and then we're going to tilt it just a little bit, and then we're just going to press it down. And have some interesting marks because of the brush. almost wood-like, almost zebra-like. It's just really kind of cool. All right. Make sure all the ink is off of there. Okay. So then, I'll let that dry. Gotta let these dry. These back in. We're going to take this little label and we're going to cut it in half. And we're going to actually wait to stamp on it until we get everything all colored and being put together. So this is the wax pencil. I broke it in half. And if you don't have fingernails, it works great. Okay, so we need our Seabrook ink so that we can stamp our leaves. Wasn't lined quite right because I had the glare from the lights, but that's okay. All right. We have this. Next up, we are going to do some quick coloring. So we are using the Lavender Blend pen. And so I had wanted to have this part done for you guys, but time ran away from me. So we aren't doing super fancy coloring, but we're doing semi-fancy coloring. Actually, we'll do extra easy fancy coloring tonight. And we'll just do the two colors. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to do this petal by petal. And I'm going to color the full petal in the lightest ink on the pen, and then I'm going to go from the center of the petal, from the center of the flower. I'm going to flick out like I did on the coffee cup. I'm going to follow the lines that are already on flower, because those are pretty good indicators that this is where it needs to be a darker color, or where it needs to have some more detail. Now I do not want to color the whole flower and then come back in and add the darker bits, because that will change how the alcohol moves on the flower, because it is an alcohol marker. So just back and forth, light and dark. That doesn't take too long. And then you have that happen. So I just kind of bend it back and forth, which my wrist really does not appreciate right now. All right. So maybe we'll just leave the lids off for the rest of the coloring. That is not ideal, obviously, but better than fighting with a pen on camera on video for you guys. And it really does go by pretty quick for the most part. So this could be, if you wanted to make multiples, this would be an easy color and watch a show or a movie or whatever. Crafting videos. I don't know how much of this is supposed to be purple and how much of this is supposed to be green. Alright. Let me, instead of green, I'm going to go ahead and use the Brown Crate blend because I have it here. And it kind of fits with the rest of the card. Okay. So, oh, we have one more thing we need to do. So we need to create our center piece. Okay, so I am taking a piece, this is mink cardstock, and I had previously done a print and cut on it, and I saved it because that's a lot of space. So we're going to cut out a square. Yes, I know that we could do a different square. We could just cut it, but there's a reason, and I will show you. Right. I am going to cut it off camera though, because I need to do something to stabilize my desk, because the lights that I use for the video have been falling recently when I use my machine. So this is step one. So I didn't actually show you. These are the dies that we're using, and they are the square patterns, thin cuts. So you get 2 squares, 2 squares with X's, square with circles, and a square with squares, which I've actually cut apart. That's just what I did. It is what it is. Alright, so the squares all match on the outside. So we are going to line up our square, and this will fit perfectly on the inside. And we want to make sure it doesn't move. So we are lining this up, and we are using washi to tape it. Okay. So it's all lined up. And then I found my little guy. We are going to use this guy, or you can use the blue one like I used 2 weeks ago, last week, whenever it was that I did it. And we're going to run this through. So when I use the Close to My Heart machine to do this, I change it to letterpress, 2D emboss, and then I put the pressure at 2, just regular 2, and it feels like it's doing nothing. It feels like it's barely grabbing everything to be able to roll it through. But we have a nice embossed image. If you have the thickness of your sandwich too great, or if you have the pressure too high, you will not like what you come up with. This is what happens when your pressure is too high. Doing that same sandwich that I just had, you will have pieces, which is what happens when you use it as a die cut, which is, you know, what it is. All right, let's go ahead and do our things. So we are popping up our square. All right. So when we put this down here, we're going to offset it from that square that we stamped. And so just a little bit of that will show through. Just a little bit will show through. Okay, but before we do that, we want to lay down our little frilly piece. And this is just cut out of White Daisy. Okay, so I want it there-ish. So I'm just going to rotate, add some glue, and rotate back. Before I press it down, I'm going to make sure that I've twisted it to be in that position that I want it, and that it's low enough for my taste, and then just press it down. Alright, so just to make things easy, we're going to go ahead and peel this and stick it. And it's always so much fun that foam tape always gives me more problems on video than it does not. You know, when I'm just plain using it. Alright, so our goal is to have this square centered. Right? Makes sense. And now we're going to bring in our glue dots. Okay? But before we use them, let's go ahead and lay out what we think we want our flowers to look like. Right, we can do the big one in the center. Let's go ahead and do the big one in the center this time. Alright, so I'm going to take 2 glue dots. This is not the glue dots that I want. Not the glue dots I want. What? Where are my glue dots? Here they are. All right, let's try that again. So we're just going to put, these are mini glue dots, and I put them on either side of those petals. And just kind of pick up those other blossoms. And if you want to make any adjustments, now would be the time to do that. Although it might be difficult. And next to impossible. Oh yeah, let's remember this guy this time. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and snip off the bottom because I already know that I don't want that. And let's snip off the leaf. All right. Fabulous. All right, let's go ahead and put a glue dot on the stamped side of each leaf at the stem. Can you use liquid glue for this? Yes, you absolutely can use liquid glue for this. Oh my gosh. There we go. Okay. So we are going to just kind of play around with the placement. And the good news is, because our card base is 4 inches instead of 4 1/4, if you wanted to, you could go off the edge like that, actually. So let's kind of plan on having that be that. Okay, so now we need some foam tape again. And we're going to put it just at the end of the leaves. Okay, perfect. Grab some liquid glue. Should have peeled the foam first. That's okay. It's only 2 pieces, so it won't take very long. She says, as it takes 35 minutes. Okay, almost done. We just need our sentiment. So my original plan was to put the sentiment on the right side, and when I did that earlier, it didn't work. It got covered up by stuff, and so we had to adjust. So I wanted to make sure that I knew what we could do and could not do. All right, we're going to take our Mink ink. Now, if you wanted to, you could do the sentiment in Seabrook. Actually, let's go ahead and do that, just so we can see the difference. So on my original sample, I did this in Mink, and now we're doing it in Seabrook. We're going to mask so that we can stamp the word U. Excuse my head. Those lights are kind of shiny. All right. And then put that underneath there. All right. So let's go ahead. I already can tell you that we need to trim this down a little bit. So we'll trim off the Y for you. I think that's going to be perfect, because remember, we have that foam underneath there. Perfect. So a liquid is going to allow you to grab your piece and move it around just a little bit. So that you can get your pieces lined up kind of how you want them. So this one I'm kind of making them straight, whereas this one they were definitely not. Okay. And then what to do for the inside, I did not cut those pieces. So what I'm going to do is just grab some of this. And cut this for the inside. Alright, so we need 3 3/4. And let's go ahead and do 3/8. I'm not sure that the top or the bottom is actually straight on here, and so that is why I'm using the lines to line that up. I did that, and we don't have the inside pieces yet. The white daisy pieces. So I have a bunch of white daisy that is pre-cut to 4 by 5 1/4, just because it makes crafting that much faster and easier if I have them pre-cut. Some of that stuff out of the way. Oh yeah, I forgot. I taped that close. Alright, so you guys will have to let me know which you like better. Do you like the mink or the Seabrook for the sentiment? We have our slightly splashed envelopes to go with. And that is card number 3 for you guys. And it's not often that I do all vertical cards too. But that was because of the size thing, I think, was the biggest reason. But those are our 3 cards. So thank you so very much for joining me and letting me show you what you can do at home with the supplies that you have or with the kits that I have available for you guys. So thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you hit that like button and shared with your crafty friends this fun video and these fun cards. And if you have any questions or are interested in purchasing any of the supplies that I used today, please let me know and I can help you with that. So thanks guys. See you next week.